thing. Oh goodness.
Janet,
all right.
me and you would get along.
We are at 9:15, so welcome everybody to the March Employee Forum Full Body Meeting. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to get started with a little bit of an inverted agenda today. We're going to start with our new business and then move into our presentations a little later. So I wanted to start off with a few kind of announcements. First, as I'm sure y'all saw a couple weeks ago, employee forum election season is upon us. So we will be accepting nominations for new delegates through the end of the month. Elections will be held in April. So if you know of someone or want to nominate someone, or your term is ending and you want to continue, make sure that you go in and nominate folks for a position. And like I said, elections will happen in April. I don't know exactly when. Matt could probably chime in and tell me. So looking forward to another election season shortly. Speaking of kind of vacant positions, sadly, Nataya Neal, who has been a delegate for quite a long time, has left the university. So I believe her last day might have even been yesterday. So we are going to miss her dearly, but Nataya was our Awards and Recognitions Committee chair, so we have a vacancy there. If folks have an interest in chairing that committee, it has a little bit less of a kind of time commitment than other committee chairs, given it is it only meets certain times of the year in advance of our award season. So if you're interested, you can even co-chair. So if a couple different folks are interested, that's an option. Please reach out to myself and Matt if you're interested in that role. Similarly, Nataya was one of our co-chairs on the Carolina Peer Support Committee. I think Joseph is the other co-chair. I'd love to have another person kind of sign up for that as a co-chair of that group. If you have questions about Carolina Peer Support, please reach out to myself or Joseph, or even Shayna, who served when she was chair of the forum on that group. We're glad to answer any questions that you have. So Awards and Recognitions Committee chair, Carolina Peer Support Committee co-chair, reach out if you have interest. So yeah, next up, we've got a resolution. So we've not brought this one forward. This is a first reading of our resolution 22-02, addressing serious retention, morale, resource problems in university housekeeping services. So I'm going to stop speaking now and introduce Stephanie and Matt, who are co-chairs of the Personnel Issues Committee, to bring this resolution forward. Stephanie and Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Katie. Matt Banks, do you want to share screen? I have it on my screen if you want me to just read it.
If Matt will
share, give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a change to the draft that was sent out, folks. So.
Do you see it there?
I see a blank screen.
Oh no.
It's probably taken some time. Mine does that sometimes too.
Let me know. It says I'm screen sharing.
Still just saying it started screen sharing. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Draft resolution 22-02, resolution addressing serious retention, morale, and resource problems in university housekeeping services. Resolution of the Employee Forum, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, March 2nd, 2022. Whereas housekeeping services staff are critical for providing a professional, clean, safe, and sanitary environment for the entire UNC-Chapel Hill community in support of the university's teaching, research, and public service mission. And whereas current housekeeping services employees feel overworked, underpaid, under-resourced, and underappreciated for the work they do to keep the university safe. And whereas housekeeping services has been understaffed for years, including before the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the ongoing staff shortage requires remaining housekeeping zone managers and other staff to cover the workload of those who have left, including at times requiring a single staff member to cover the workload of 4 housekeepers. And whereas staff who work more than 40 hours in a work week are given compensatory time off instead of overtime pay. And whereas on top of staffing shortages and pay concerns, remaining housekeepers have recently been required to take on additional labor-intensive tasks such as cleaning the Dean Dome and manual snow shoveling. And whereas the tools and equipment required for housekeepers to successfully complete those additional duties are in limited supply, including one example of a staff member having to bring their personal snow removal equipment to complete university work. And whereas the workload left to remaining permanent staff and a revolving door of temporary employees has exacerbated staff burnout, low morale, and retention challenges. And whereas housekeeping and facilities management continue to post primarily temporary housekeeping positions, even though the UNC system and state of North Carolina have lifted the temporary freeze on hiring permanent employees. And whereas zone managers have raised these concerns with senior housekeeping and facilities leadership, while frontline housekeeping employees fear retaliation for speaking up outside of the chain of command. And whereas despite housekeeping zone managers voicing concerns to facilities and finance and operations, F&O leadership regarding staffing, equipment, and additional duties, no significant improvements have been made in any of these areas. And whereas the employee forum has also raised concerns about these issues to senior campus administrators, particularly in human resources, HR, and F&O for the past 18 months, and whereas the current approach to staffing and coverage is unsustainable for remaining permanent staff, given long-term staffing shortages, and whereas the employee forum is concerned there is a disconnect between frontline housekeeping employees and the chancellor and provost regarding the current situation in housekeeping, now therefore be it resolved, the employee forum calls on the chancellor to 1, facilitate small group meetings with frontline housekeeping staff with a mutually agreed upon facilitator in a safe, welcoming, and non-intimidating environment. 2, direct housekeeping, facilities, finance and operations, and human resources leadership to develop, implement, and support a plan in the next 90 days to use permanent employees to fill housekeeping vacancies and ensure adequate coverage in each building. And 3, check back with housekeeping zone managers and frontline employees monthly, beginning at the end of the initial 90-day period to ensure the housekeeping staffing problem is improving. 4, hold senior housekeeping, facilities, finance and operations, and human resources leadership accountable for the implementation and outcome of this plan. 5, ensure additional duties are only implemented with appropriate and adequate resources. 6, provide time and a half pay for housekeeping staff who work more than 40 hours in a week rather than comp time.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for reading through that. We're going to open up conversation for suggestions, revisions, discussion in general on this proposed resolution. So use the raise your hand feature or the chat to submit responses.
Do you want to stop share?
Yeah, Matt, you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen. If you want to take a look at the draft language, you can click on the link that's in the agenda that was set out before the meeting. Like there has been a couple changes to the language since the agenda went out, so just be aware of that. Questions, comments, suggestions, revisions? James Stamey.
Yes, just a couple of things. Can you hear me?
Just a little bit louder.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, that's a little better.
In the 6 bullet points, I guess at the bottom, it seems number 1 was changed. Could we reread that? I don't have it on my screen. But
Yeah, number 1 was changed. So Stephanie, can you reread that and maybe put the new language in the chat?
Yes, the new language was is facilitate small group meetings with frontline housekeeping staff with a mutually agreed upon facilitator in a safe, welcoming, and non-intimidating environment. And I'll put that in the chat so folks can see it.
And then the only other thing that I would raise for myself, I don't know where it says some housekeeping staff members have been made to take compensatory time. That may be true, but I have requested comp time. Let's say when I worked at the Smith Center and got a lot of overtime and with the snow, I have requested to get comp time for some of that. Where, you know, I don't know if people know when you go over 20 hours overtime, you get taxed to death. So, and I won't get into a lot of that, but I have requested comp time, so I don't know of anyone that's been forced to take comp time at this university. I know other universities my experience, a lot of people get paid overtime, but I could be wrong across the 3 shifts. And that's all I wanted to point out.
Thanks, James. That's helpful. I can say when we were drafting this, that was the committee went back and forth a lot on trying to really understand how that works. Like you said, with different shifts. So I might email you to get some more details on how it works for you.
And like I say, if someone's been made to take comp time, I'm not aware of it. Of course, there's 3 big shifts here, so, and I used to work 3rd shift, but I have requested comp time before in lieu of overtime to where, you know, you wouldn't get taxed to death in a pay period, and that's all I'll say.
Thanks, James. James Holman.
Yes, this comp time issue is related to when they go to condition 2 or when you have to come in for adverse weather. People will prefer to have the pay instead of comp time. If something happens to your vehicle or something like that, at least you can use that extra money to pay for it. Doing a regular, where James works at, like when he's working at the football, basketball, or even where mine at football, yes, we do get paid comp time, but this is related to when it's adverse weather, the comp time issue.
Okay, that's helpful. James, Damien, is yours a leftover hand?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll take
No,
it.
you're fine. Just want to make sure. Other questions, comments, discussion on the draft language that's here?
Also, if folks just need more time to read it and think about it, you should always feel free to email myself or Matt Teal. We will probably schedule a separate committee meeting to keep working on this, and I will share those details with the forum once I schedule it.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. Any final feedback for personnel issues on this draft resolution? I really appreciate all the time Stephanie and Matt and the personnel issues group took to kind of draft this resolution. I know this has been a long time coming and that we've been working on this overall issue of kind of working on housekeeping issues for the past several months during COVID. So thank you all for your work on this. This is really comprehensive and I think it looks like a great start. So as Stephanie said, if you need time to further read it, submit questions. Yeah. All right. Well, that sounds good. We will move on to the next portion of our agenda. I'm not sure if Kathryn is here yet. Let me look and see. I don't think our next presenter is here yet. So with that said, let's move into some of our old business. I'll mention the town hall and community meeting planning session was held earlier this week. Jesse Bongiovanni and Keith Hines have been leading that trustee effort. I don't think Keith is here today, but Jesse, I'll let you kind of speak to where we're at with that planning process.
Sure. Hello. So I think we may have a date of March 25th from 10 to 11:30 for our community meeting. We're not going to call it a town hall, but it is a community meeting. Oh, we have Keith here.
Oh, Keith.
Hi. But that's just on the planning side. I can let Keith talk about what we're going to be discussing if you'd like.
Yes, sure. I will jump in. Sorry I'm late and have to leave early, but
No worries.
new job, new life, new world, So our focus this year for this community meeting is we wanted to do something that we thought could be most impactful and most beneficial to staff. So we are focusing on mental health and resilience and community. And okay, that's my phone. That happened yesterday when we were interviewing somebody like in the middle of it. No, okay,
Yeah.
but anyway. So yeah, so we are gonna, that is going to be our focus. And it sort of stems from some of the comments that we brought up from the Mental Health Summit of how it was very much full of information, but some people felt like they wanted to walk away with, hey, here are some things you can do in those moments of stress, so that you don't end up being distressed and progressing to that. So that is what a lot of our focus is going to be on for the community meeting this year, because we thought that it would be good for all of us, because we've all been going through so much and have been through so much. And we're going to do this in conjunction with administration and speak with them on some things and how we can incorporate them in this so they feel included, and we get some value out of that, and they do as well.
Excellent. Does anybody have any thoughts or feedback on the community meeting that's scheduled for later this month? We're hoping to get out some communications about this event maybe end of next week so that folks can begin registering for the webinar. It is going to be in a webinar format to make it accessible to folks working both on campus and remotely. And we're still working out final details of the agenda in terms of planned speakers and all that final nitty-gritty planning stuff. So once we have a final agenda and we've got a communications plan in place, we're going to hope to get that out late next week. So any questions or thoughts about the proposed community meeting?
Katie, can you just repeat I got March 25th. Was there a tentative time?
Yes, it's from 10 to 11:30. It's directly after the staff meeting that morning, Shana.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is it, I don't know if this is best practice or not, but send out basically a save the date?
We could, Jesse, if you want to
need
look
more
into
lead
doing
time.
that. Yeah, exactly. We just need to have a finalized kind of name of the event first, but I think we could send out a save the date even before we have the finalized kind of speakers and communication set. Great idea. Awesome. And then another thing I'll kind of mention is, so we're going to have some planned speakers come, we'll do a Q&A panel type session. And then we're going to actually move into a tangible kind of project, which is Stack developed a project with Arts Everywhere that was announced yesterday in the Well. So we're going to have a pop-up session where we get to engage and participate in that postcard session where we kind of reflect on the time during the pandemic and our experiences with that, and build some community together as staff by completing an art project. I am not artistic in the slightest, but I have trust that our folks over at Ackland and Arts Everywhere can kind of guide us through, and we can have a meaningful kind of engagement and community building experience through that art project. So speaking of that art project, let's see if Kathryn is on the call, and I believe she is. So we're going to move into the presentation from Kathryn, and she's going to talk about this project and how it came about and what we're going to be doing with it. So welcome, Kathryn. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Katie. I'm sorry that I'm meeting many of you under these circumstances, but it is really nice to see so many names and faces, and it's a complete honor to be here chatting with you this morning. I'll try not to make my spiel too boring, and hopefully I have screen share ability, or maybe someone can give me that, because I'd love to just walk through some photos real quick. Let's see. Cool. Thank you. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. I finally figured this out after 2 years of the pandemic. So my name is Kathryn Wagner. I help lead the Arts Everywhere initiative here on campus. For those of you who aren't familiar with us or what we do, I'm going to do a quick overview before I launch into some information about the project that Katie mentioned. So Arts Everywhere is really just aiming to be a central catalyst for the arts here at UNC and to make the arts a fundamental part of our culture on campus. We have a lot of partnerships. We do a lot of programming, encourage artistic expression. As Katie mentioned, she maybe isn't artistically inclined. I do not have any visual art skills, but I also think that we can engage with the arts on any level, and no matter what our experience or background is. So clearly I'm a huge fan. And this is just such a fun part of my job, is connecting with all the wonderful people that make up Carolina. So the team, it's me and my colleague, Dr. Crystal Wu. She happens to be a Carolina alum. She is an incredible pianist. I also have a music background. So visual and literary arts are a fun adventure for us. You may have heard about Arts Everywhere through projects like the short story dispensers that are across campus that print out CVS style receipts of short stories. The Red Ball installation that happened a couple years ago with our friends at the Ackland Art Museum. The infamous Lady Spider that was on campus. We helped to get that here at UNC for a couple of years, and of course join the chorus of people sad and glad to see her go on her way, or painted pianos from years past. But we really do a lot more. We're involved in a lot of mural projects across campus. This is one that's in development over at the Health Promotion and Disease Prevention building, and it should be finished at some point this spring. The artist is a graduate student and an employee here at UNC, which is really neat. We've got projects out at the Institute of Marine Science. We have a mural at Keenan Flagler on the 3rd floor near the undergraduate business program. This is from First Fridays. We partner with the music department to do a pop-up concert series every month, and sometimes we take it on the road, so it's not always in Hill Hall. We've been to the FedEx Center, we've been to some of the libraries, and of course outside as well when the weather's nice. We also do pop-up experiences with various student organizations. This is with Undocu Carolina, and they did some mini canvas reflections on their experience. And then we also have a lot of graduate fellowships with various departments across campus. So this is an example of some friends from the Beat Lab on campus. They work with Dr. Mark Katz, and we support a graduate fellowship in music technology, and they do work with Dr. Katz. So really wide range of stuff, and I'm just so excited about this postcard project. So STAC reached out to us, kind of, you know, the term gestures broadly applies here. I think we're all just at a point that's, you know, the pandemic is continuing. We've all had various challenges personally and professionally. And now that some of the fog is kind of starting to lift, what can we do to come together as a community? So our goals are really to engage campus staff and community through the arts, you know, making the arts a central part of what makes Carolina, Carolina, and then address the growing needs from the past several years, including things like mental health and wellness, team building. So enter postcards from the pandemic. Shayna Hill came up with the great subtitle of "I Was Here," and I think it really speaks to a lot of people's experience at Carolina. You know, the university didn't stop, and there are some incredible humans that kept it going during the pandemic and have worked tirelessly. And we wanted a chance to come together as staff to grieve together, to express sadness or joy from the past few years, and kind of have that outpouring through a creative medium. And postcards were chosen kind of a nostalgic and whimsical art form. I think it's something everybody feels like they can get behind, hopefully, because it's maybe less intimidating than, if I handed you a canvas and some oil paints and said, you know, go for it. So over the course of March, Arts Everywhere will be partnering with various folks on campus to provide workshops and materials and pop-up events. The goal is to get as much participation as possible. The postcards will be exhibited on April 8th, which is Arts Everywhere Day. And many will go to the library archives as they collect the kind of COVID stories from campus. We have workshops available at the Akron Art Museum where you can sign up and visit for a few minutes, pick a piece of art that kind of moves you and maybe reflects your experience during the pandemic, and then follow some prompts with our colleagues there at the museum to kind of start your own creation. You can attend a workshop at Morrison Art Studio, which is of course the first floor of Morrison Residence Hall. Those will happen every Monday morning. I am bringing coffee and donuts for anyone who would like, so that's extra incentive. You can sign up for us to come to your neck of the woods, and we'll bring all the materials. We'll do a quick workshop. We'll leave the stuff for you and your staff to continue working on things on your own time. If you're working remotely, we have that option. If you have an idea for a way for us to engage with your unit that isn't reflected in our current offerings and information, just reach out to me or Arts Everywhere, and we'd love to plan something that feels accessible to you or to your group. I feel like I've hit most of the high points, but you know, we'll be at Wellness Day on the 18th, so you can come and grab a kit and take it with you, or you can stay a while and work on your creation there. Really just hopefully a fun way to kind of express our collective emotion from the past few years. And you know, I'm excited to see what comes out of all of this. I hope everyone is as well. Oh, thank you, Katie.
You're welcome. No, thank you.
Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, questions for Kathryn and for this project. We're really excited about this this partnership, and I'm so glad that Stack and Arts Everywhere are partnering together. So questions, Laura.
I just want to say thank you to Kathryn and her team for making this so accessible to so many staff members. I think it's really terrific that you're offering to bring these to different departments on campus who may not be able to travel to other areas on campus, or mailing them out for those who work remotely. So I just wanted to take a minute and show appreciation for thinking about the best ways to include so many of our staff members. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We're trying, and you know, if, like I mentioned, if there are accommodations or needs that weren't articulated either in my yammering or on our website, we're happy to meet y'all where you're at. If that includes translation or ASL or any of those things, we really just want to make this as fun and you know, accessible as possible. And I forgot to mention that there are prizes. So
Yes.
yeah, right.
Tell us about that.
So to encourage, you know, teams really to use this as a team building opportunity. The team with the most percentage of participation or highest participation will be entered into a raffle. The top 3 prizes, I think total prize awards are around $6,000, and the prizes include things like Arts Everywhere will come and do like an art makeover of your office. So we'll work with you to, I don't know, curate new art in your space, or get you an indoor mural on an empty, boring wall in your office space. We'll help curate a mini pop-up performance that's just for you and your team. Lots of fun options that still kind of engage with the arts, but hopefully incentivize more participation.
That's so great. Thanks, Kathryn.
Yeah.
Arlene.
I had a question about what kind of materials are in the kits.
Yeah, the kits that will be available for pickup at the Ackland are just full-size colored pencils and postcards and stamps, and then some from further information and resources, and they're in like a little craft bag. We did that because the Ackland didn't really want watercolors or whatnot to be in their space. But if you request to pick up at Morrison Art Studio or elsewhere on campus, if you're not a colored pencil type of person, we have acrylics and watercolors and collage materials. All of those are options. So especially when we do like a to-go workshop in your unit area, we will bring all the things, because you might like collage and I might like mandalas, and the other person might like, you know, maybe they're very talented and can do some watercolor. So yeah, lots of fun options.
Right. And yeah, that pop-up for the community meeting that we're planning, since it's a webinar kind of remote option, we'll include information in the communications that go out in the registration process about how to request a packet get like shipped to you if you're working remotely, or where you can pick up a packet on campus. Karen, your hand is up.
Hi, Kathryn. It's Karen Webster. Could you tell me if there's going to be a link for a flyer that I can send out to my department so that I can get everybody excited as I am?
Yeah, we've had a few questions about that, and we'll put a link on our website later today. You can always grab any of the information there and share it, but we'll make something a little bit more shareable. So look for that probably this afternoon at some point.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I retweeted the announcement from yesterday from the forums account, so you can also share via social media if you'd like. Laura, your hand's up.
I do actually have a question this time. I have a two-part question. The first question is, so I'm looking through the website now. If we wanted to request a workshop within our unit, you have parentheses, large teams. What do you consider large? Like, is there a minimum number of participants that we would need to have?
No, not necessarily.
All right.
If, you know, like the Ackland workshops and the Morrison Art Studio workshops do have a capacity, because especially like Morrison with COVID spacing, we're trying to cap that. So if you had a smaller team and wanted to show up for coffee and donuts on a Monday morning, that's great. And if you have a small team or a larger team and you want us to come to your space, I think it would just really be finding a time that works for you.
Cool. Okay, that sounds good. And then my other question is, are staff members able to do more than one postcard? Like if I wanted to come to a Monday thing and check it out and then like have you come to our team or whatever, like is that
totally
nodding your head? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
We're not going to limit anyone's creativity.
That's a very relevant question for folks on the forum. So like you can also like you can come to our pop-up event, but you can also come and take your team to one of the in-person events or have a remote event yourself. So great question. Jessie.
Are we allowed to be on more than one team?
Sure.
Yes. Can the employee forum be a team?
Ooh, there's a thought. What if we got 100% participation with the employee forum and threw ourselves a big, I don't know, dance party or
I love it.
concert?
That's fantastic.
If y'all have any more questions that you think of after this, like I said, feel free to contact us. Our contact info is on our website. I'll also drop my email in the chat in case anyone wants to shoot me an email directly.
Oh, Shayna, final question. Oh, you're muted.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. I know that a lot of people's concern was where do they put all of the emotions that happened during COVID, good and bad, you know, tragic and joyous. And so one of the things that we talked about was if you don't draw or if you're not artistic, you can just write yourself a note or write somebody else a note saying how you felt and how you got through it. So just wanted to say thank you so much, because I think staff and everybody, not just staff, really want to say we made it through this, we're making it through this, and let their voices be heard. This was a historic time, and just to mark it is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's it's been a crazy ride over the past few years, and it's not over yet. I will just add one tiny shameless plug for Arts Everywhere Day on April 8th when we have this exhibit. It'll likely be outdoors on Polk Place. We're also doing, as part of Arts Everywhere Day, something that we're calling the Big Scream, which is a little bit like outpouring of emotion from the pandemic as well. So some of you may have heard of the moms groups around the country that will, you know, meet up at some place and like have a collective scream together. Well, we're working with some art therapists to do a guided group scream, and we'll scream for the things that were lost over the past year. We'll scream for what we want in the future. We'll scream for, you know, joy that's happened recently. So there'll be a few prompts. We'll come together probably with some music at the end. It'll be short and sweet around the lunchtime hour. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I think between the postcards and this performance art scream, it could be a very cathartic day.
Love it. Oh, and another question in the chat. Does UNC Healthcare ever get involved with / participate in these initiatives and connections to the campus world?
Yeah, I mean, we're a small team, and so there's a lot of potential that's untapped, but we have worked with UNC Healthcare in the past on various things, and definitely as part of this project, we will be doing some direct outreach to unit leads, and that will include folks at UNC Healthcare, School of Medicine, Dental School, Nursing, all those. So we want the broad UNC community to feel like they can be a part of this.
That's great. Yeah, I think everybody's really excited about this opportunity, a cathartic experience where we can come together as a community and kind of express, you know, the shared experience of the past couple of years, that it's been unprecedented and unique, and just the ability to express that, you know, and share that together is really, really important. So we really appreciate Arts Everywhere partnering with us in this, and it's going to be great. I'm excited. And as a history buff, like, I was partial to the postcard idea, and I think this is a great way to kind of bring back that kind of lost art of postcard sending. So this is really great.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really look forward to seeing, you know, what we can all create together.
I wholeheartedly agree. Thanks.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. All right, y'all. Well, we're moving quickly. So I don't believe Chancellor Guskiewicz is here yet. So let's start with a couple things from the consent agenda, and then we'll get into the traditional Chancellor roundtable once we finish that. So does anyone have anything that they would like to withdraw from the consent agenda? Any committee reports or anything y'all want to pull from the consent agenda? No? Okay.
Katie, I feel like you're really trying to pull something out. So I will pull out an education and career development update,
Cool.
and I'll speak very slowly.
Awesome. Anyone else have a desire to pull anything and give any updates from committees? James?
I'll pull building and grounds because we don't meet till next Thursday, the 10th. So that's the only report I have.
Okay. So other than that, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the February minutes that Matt sent out separately?
This is Arlene, and I vote to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, the consent agenda passes. Laura, education and career development. What's going on in y'all's neck of the woods?
Oh, you know, not a whole lot. No, that's not actually true at all. We are getting ready for our busy spring season. So as most of you know, we will do another round of professional development grants. We have made some pretty big updates given the new travel system this year, which is, you know, it's going. We're working through it. We're figuring it out as we go. Huge thanks to all team members involved. But Ellie is doing a really terrific job trying to streamline our applications for the next round, so we don't have so many emails back and forth with our grant recipients trying to figure out what's going to be prepaid, what's going to be reimbursed, that kind of thing. So really just a lot of process improvement from a professional development grant standpoint. Shifting gears a little bit to the Carolina Family Scholarship, we are starting to think about that. We will have applications open later this spring. Of course, we'll send out notifications when that happens. But for those of you not familiar with the Carolina Family Scholarship, it is a scholarship for dependents of university employees to receive X amount of funds, depends on how much it is each year, to any of the UNC system schools or the community colleges. So it's a really terrific program. It's one that we're always excited to administer every year. So I took up 2 minutes of time. That's the best I could do, Katie.
Thank you, Laura. Jacob, your hand's up.
Yeah, if we're taking up time, I just wanted to remind everyone about the Ronald McDonald House drive that we're doing right now. Hopefully that I sent an email out last week. I can send another one if people need to re-get it. If you didn't get it, let me know. I will get it back to you. But we're actually really excited about the way this one's formatted. We actually requested that they create a specific Amazon wish list so that we can actually, one, donate items that are most specifically needed at this exact time, as opposed to their just kind of standard default wish list. But also so that will give us the ability to actually kind of track donations, which is a better way to drive engagement. So we're hoping to follow up throughout the month, honestly.
And Jacob, if you and your team want to pull together and draft like a tweet or Facebook post, I can include the graphics that Dory and her team kind of helped develop and kind of tweet and share via social media if you'd like.
That would be great. That's kind of why we got it Instagram and Twitter ready, which were on that email.
Great. So if you send me like the draft post, I'll go in and submit because I have access to those forum accounts.
Sure.
Joseph, your hand's up.
Yes, if we're also taking up time, there's listener applications that are coming out for the Carolina Peer Support Collaborative. And that's if any of you are student facing or have students that you think would be good peer supporters or in order to help students deal with the current situation that we're all in. I'll send a link to the application requirements, and you can maybe recommend 1 or 2 students that you think would be a good fit for that program.
Great. Thanks, Joseph. And I will also applaud the Carolina Peer Support Collaborative for their recent message surrounding the kind of hardships that Ukraine is facing and some other things. So that message was well received. So thank you all and your team for doing that. Any other updates from forum folks? I have a couple updates. The employee forum executive committee meeting got pushed back a week from, it was originally scheduled on March 15th, but it got moved to March 22nd. The week of March 15th is the staff assembly meeting, so the time conflicted with staff assembly folks. So it is the 4th Tuesday of the month instead of the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So if you want to join that, please reach out to Matt for the link for that particular Zoom. And then our next Vice Chancellor meeting isn't until April. So the solicitation for questions for that VC meeting will come out probably later in March. And feel free to submit questions as always for that April 14th at 10 a.m. Vice Chancellor Representatives meeting. All right, so we are right at 10 o'clock, but I don't think Kevin is here yet. Let me double check the list of participants and make sure. No, he is not.
Katie, I can give a brief update on staff assembly.
Okay, go ahead, Shana, and then we'll go to Liz.
So the full body of the staff assembly meets March 14th and 15th. There is normally a session where we meet with President Hans. I haven't seen the agenda yet, so I'm not sure that that holds true for this one, but I think it might. So please feel free to send any questions or concerns. You can send them directly to me and I'll make sure they get on the list for the HR update portion.
Great. Liz.
This is filler. Sorry, it just
You're
feels like we need it.
We do.
This is just a thought, and I'm not going to be articulate. And the minute the chancellor comes on, just mute me. I have this weird feeling about the mental health topics. I am not saying that this feeling means that I feel like it's the issue of the month or a fad. I don't think that at all. But based on some things that come up from the various meetings at all levels, I feel like I wonder because I don't even have time to participate in all the mental health initiatives because all the things that lead to my mental health issues, work, all the things I'm committed to. And I said I wasn't going to be articulate, but remember, was it 2 years ago, we started talking about toxic positivity. So this is not toxic health mental advocacy. I'm not saying it's empty, but I sometimes leave with the feeling that it's like, okay, here's all those resources that you stressed out, unhappy, sometimes freaking out people can go try to find the time and energy and personal strength to go pursue. And yet at some meetings, here's somebody who's advocating for everybody under a certain income who can't find housing anymore, who can't make ends meet anymore. And of course, we're not going to solve these problems. I'm just talking about this overarching theme that keeps forming in my mind of the responsibility of the individual to access these wonderful mental health initiatives while we don't even barely pay lip service to the systemic things. And it's not even just about race anymore, although that does always play its role. These things that keep people from thriving in the community in which they work and wish they could live, or all the things. So I'm not trying to be a downer, but I'm saying this sensation I have is vaguely reminiscent of that time that we were dealing with toxic positivity. I don't have a label for it, and I'm not even sure I want one, but this thought just keeps coming up.
Very valid thoughts and concerns, Liz. I appreciate that. So hopefully the community meeting later this month can kind of help to kind of address some of those things. But you're right, it's a unique experience for everyone, and everyone comes to the table with a little bit different perspective. So I appreciate that. So the Chancellor has arrived. So welcome, Chancellor Guskowitz. We're going to move into the traditional roundtable with you if you want to give some remarks. So welcome. Let's see if he's unmuted. Hang on a second. Chancellor Guskowitz. Let's see if.
Hello.
Hello, there you are.
I apologize. I was having some technical difficulties here.
No worries. We are familiar with Zoom technical difficulties, so
I apologize. Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Kathryn Wagner, for your earlier presentations, the stack on Arts Everywhere project launch, and pleasure to be with everyone today. We are coming to the halfway point of the semester, and grateful to our staff and the campus community for all of your efforts. And I know there are questions surrounding the lifting of the mask mandate. I'm happy to discuss that here. At the direction of the UNC system, we will continue to follow local guidelines as it relates to masking. And if we continue to trend in the right direction toward the CDC's medium community level, then the mask mandate will be lifted. And I think that you probably heard that Orange County Health Department is in fact going to do that. And so, this guidance just came out, and so we'll be communicating more widely to our campus shortly, most likely by early afternoon today. A lot's changed just in the last 24 hours. I learned yesterday morning that the elected officials in Orange County were likely to lift the mandate. So we will, though, however, continue working with our public health experts and state and local health officials and campus leaders to ensure that we can conduct our operations safely. I can't say this enough, the importance of maintaining a safe campus environment. And I know that you all care deeply about that. I think experiencing this campus life after the events of the past 2 years has been incredible for our students. Last weekend, it has been great to see campus come alive over these past 4, 5, 6 weeks. Last weekend, I had a chance to attend a number of events on campus. Our Chancellor Science Scholars welcome weekend over at the Carolina Inn, where we talked about this magical place as we're trying to recruit these incredible students to Carolina alongside their parents who were here visiting with them. I had the opportunity, Amy and I went to the UNC Asian American Students Association performances over at Memorial Hall Saturday evening, and which was wonderful, and had a chance to go to a number of athletics events this weekend, cheering on the men's and women's lacrosse teams on Saturday, and the women's basketball team. That was actually on Sunday in the rain, and then going to the women's basketball game where we beat Duke pretty handedly. That was fun. And then also last weekend I met with spent a lot of time talking with our leadership team about the important progress we're making around budget and with our balanced budget now, and trying to provide some opportunities for our faculty and staff. And none of these none of this in terms of the on-campus living, learning, teaching environment would be possible without you, our devoted staff. And so thinking back on the last 2 years, I'm consistently amazed by your resilience, flexibility, and hope in the midst of all this uncertainty. So I just want to thank you. And we remain committed to the mental health and well-being of our community. On Monday, we held a mental health seminar as a follow-up to the summit that we had on November the 15th. And I hope that you'll attend the Employee Wellness Day on March the 18th. And looking forward to hearing your thoughts about that moving forward and how we can continue to support our campus community. And, this is a challenge. I had a chance to meet with a group of other university presidents recently, and these challenges are not unique to Carolina, but we have to learn from one another, meaning internally here, learning from each other, but also learning how other universities are doing this. As for I talked about things are coming back to life in terms of back to some sense of normalcy. I'm actually taking my first trip. I leave tomorrow to head out to the West Coast to speak at the ACE conference, which and to talk about the importance of metrics. I'm on a panel discussion with some other university leaders to talk about charting our progress and how we reach goals, and some of those goals I talked about in my campus message last week. We have to be proud of the work that we've done in meeting the mark on our UNC system priorities, seeing increased enrollment of students from rural areas and in low-income economic brackets. This was a goal that we set forth about 4.5 years ago, and we've made incredible progress. We've also seen growth in science and technology degrees, which was a third goal outlined in that UNC system priority, back 4.5 years ago. And so we're coming toward the end of that 5-year mark. And I feel confident that we'll continue to hit the mark in the other areas, around graduation rates for these individuals as well. So everyone plays a role, and you are critically important to helping us meet those goals. And so I just want to say thank you. And I'm happy at this time to open it up for questions.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Questions for Chancellor Guskowitz? Excellent. Well, I guess I'll get us started. So I put in the chat, we did hear about Orange County is removing their mask mandate as of March 7th. And I hear communications are going to be coming shortly about this. So it would be a reduction in the requirement around masks around March 7th. Is that correct?
It will eliminate the mandate for indoor spaces that we've had in place. And it will, you'll read a lot about optional, that mask wearing is optional.
Okay.
And also what we're like, you'll likely hear in the messaging, and I hope that you'll help to message that we want to encourage those who still feel the need and want to wear a mask to do that, and that we should respect those individual preferences and the actions that individuals will take to protect themselves. And so my guess is that we'll see sort of a hybrid approach, probably in the classroom and the working spaces on our campus.
But individual departments wouldn't have the autonomy to say in our space, we want everyone to wear masks, correct? It'd be an individual decision.
That's correct. We will not be permitted, based on this latest guidance, to mandate it, any individual unit or the university as a whole.
Thank you. Arlene, you had your hand up.
With the mask mandate changing, will testing be continued still be continued for the foreseeable future?
So we have been talking for several weeks about, as most places are phasing out their surveillance testing, we will still provide testing at Campus Health for symptomatic individuals. We will have I'm pretty sure this is the case, and I need to check back in. I know they had a meeting yesterday afternoon to make some decisions moving forward after spring break, how that will be handled. I know after spring break, we're going to shift to Radius to handle our testing as opposed to our own in-house testing center. And I'm just not sure. There will be a message regarding the options where testing will take place and who will be required. I want to be careful of saying something that just may have changed yesterday afternoon, but that information will be coming out.
Right. There was another question in the chat. Kira, did you want to bring it forward? Would you like me to read it?
Could you read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. I'm hearing concerns from graduate students about the possibility of no longer having masking in the classroom. Can you share what instructors can do in their classes to keep themselves and others healthy?
Well, again, we are a highly vaccinated campus community, and we have been for many months. Our positivity rates, case counts are down dramatically from where we were 6 or 7 weeks ago. So I think that we just have to continue to encourage individuals to be safe, when in the classroom environment. I think if individuals are uncomfortable, they need to feel free, as I said earlier, to wear their mask. We just will not be able to mandate.
Great. Other questions for Chancellor Guskowitz? In the chat, will incoming students for fall 2022 be required to be vaccinated?
We will have the same, unless something changes. I think, as we've talked about before, it's the Commission on Public Health that can mandate vaccination for a state agency, and currently that is not in place. So unless that were to change, we will not be able to mandate vaccinations for students or employees.
Other questions for Chancellor Guskowitz? Question in the chat, will instructors have an option to provide instruction remotely if they have personal concerns about students opting out of masking, for example, family members who are immunocompromised or too young to be vaccinated?
So we've had our accommodations policy in place from the beginning of this, and so those faculty would need to go through that to request for accommodation for a change in how they would deliver their course. We are asking that, and I think it was in the system, the UNC system memo that came out, requesting that we not change modes of instructions at this point. So, but there could be an option through the accommodation process.
Alice, you had a further question?
Yeah, just a follow up to that. Thank you for your response. My understanding is that the accommodations are not available if the concern is the health of a family member. They're only available if you yourself are immunocompromised. So that's just a point of concern that I hear from others and that I have myself.
Okay, I know that that was not the case early in the pandemic, and I don't know if that has changed, but I will look into that, and Katie will get an answer back to you on that you could share with Employee Forum.
Chancellor, this is Link. I'll be happy to look into that for you just to confirm.
Link, thanks. That would be helpful.
Laura, your hand's up.
Hey, Chancellor Guskowitz, thanks for speaking with us today. I'm going to shift gears off of COVID, if that's okay. Maybe you'll welcome that. I'm thinking about the terrible conflict in Ukraine and wondering if you have any information about, you know, how our students are being affected in terms of their study abroad plans for the summer. Maybe are we thinking about not allowing students to travel to that area? Do you have any of that information, or is that better asked to study abroad?
No, thank you. It's a great question, an important question. Very early throughout this, we had Vice Provost Barbara Stevenson, who, you know, we hired Barbara about 2.5, 3 years ago. Had no idea how valuable her 30 years of experience in the State Department might actually be. And it's situations like this, even with COVID, and but you know, where we have students studying around the world. And she is an incredibly talented, brings a wealth of experience in knowing the safety concerns that might exist in certain regions of the world. So she and her team were on this very early. We began connecting with students who are from Ukraine, and obviously we're going to be distressed over this situation and provided some counseling for them. To my understanding is we do not have any students studying there right now. We have some medical students that we're doing some affiliations that we have connected with, who right now, you know, everything seems to be fine. But as it pertains to study abroad this summer, I know they're looking closely at it, and we'll certainly take any steps necessary to, you know, to make adjustments given the situation as it's evolving. But having Barbara Stevenson on the team has been a blessing.
That's great. Thank you. And just a quick follow-up then, I know that there's a process in place for graduate students to apply for exemptions to travel internationally. Do you foresee, getting back to COVID, since COVID numbers are decreasing, that exemption process going away so that we can allow more international research travel without going through the exemption process?
Yes, I do. That's our goal. We really want to be responsible here in how we go about relaxing that policy and the travel restrictions. And again, this is where having Barbara Stevenson and her team guiding us in regions of the world that where we still may want to keep some restrictions in place, but we will be relaxing those, and we want to try to again get back to some sense of normalcy. It's important for many of our graduate students, for many of our faculty graduate students, to be able to go and study abroad, conduct their research overseas.
So we had a couple questions in the chat, one related to Ukraine. Are students from areas around the Ukraine who are also being affected, including Russia, have been contacted about resources? And I would add faculty and staff to that as well.
Yes, my understanding is that we have a team here in Student Affairs that has worked to reach those students in those regions or from those regions and to provide resources.
Chancellor, this is Amy Johnson, and I can verify, yes, indeed, we do have the Dean of Students team has reached out to all students known from Ukraine and in that area, and potentially with family also in that area, to extend resources and support. I can't speak to the faculty and staff, but on the students that has been done.
Amy, could you potentially maybe share resources that you sent the students to a faculty and staff kind of communication? Because I know that there's faculty and staff that have connections in those areas, just like students.
Meaning, could we send the
list
faculty
of
and staff what we sent to students?
Right,
I'll
exactly.
touch base with the dean of students. I know that often what they do is call those folks.
Gotcha.
But they may have also followed up with an email. So let me find out what they sent to them, and certainly anything that we have provided to them in writing, we're glad to send along.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Another question in the chat, considering that students may travel to places with high infection rates and not necessarily take precautions during spring break, are we considering testing upon students' return?
Was that a question regarding spring break, Katie?
Yes, and COVID testing upon return.
Again, the plan right now is to not do that unless something changed in the meeting that was held yesterday afternoon, and we can look into that. But I do not believe that is the plan for reentry testing.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Any final questions for Chancellor Guskowitz? Jacob.
Hi, thank you for taking your time. I know there's a lot going on, lots of things are moving and needing your attention. But the Office of Ethics and Policy, I think, sent out an email earlier on Monday, and they linked to an article about kind of the staffing retention issues that are kind of ubiquitous across academia right now. And especially with your focus on metrics right now, I was wondering if there's any type of metrics that we have that are in place for focusing on staffing issues. I know that universities have a whole lot of metrics for students and faculty, and I'm just wondering if there's a way that we could utilize some of that information, maybe even modeling it in such a way to try to get some data on the retention issues and what could be done to assist, just because, I mean, the pandemic highlighted issues and fast forwarded some decay, I think.
Yeah, no, thank you. A very important question. We are concerned about staffing shortages, workforce needs. We back early in the semester, we were tracking the critical workforce areas where we needed to be sure that we didn't have a high volume of individuals out of any one unit, from any one unit out due to the pandemic. But we're also seeing, and we've sort of gotten past that now, and we were able to keep operations running as we had planned. But I'm very concerned just about this, the great resignation as we're hearing about this. This is not unique to Carolina. This is a concern across the UNC system and across higher ed in general. Industry is sort of poaching, if you will, many of our top talented workers at the universities, and we're working really hard and to try to retain our staff. I'm pleased that the General Assembly provided salary increases this year for our staff, for all employees at Carolina, and we're working hard to try to provide some additional a strategic retention fund that I mentioned at the last, I think it was employee forum or our staff meeting, Katie, I can't remember which meeting it was. So that we can be sure that we can get out in front of this and be more proactive in retaining our staff. So we're working hard on this with unit leaders. Link, I don't know if you want to say anything more to that.
I mean, I think you've really summed it up well. I think we're seeing challenges everywhere across the university. Well, I think at first, there were areas like research and of course the frontline healthcare workers where we were seeing challenges in staffing. I think it's just, there's no real one place where it's isolated. And I'll give you just a personal example of what the job market is like now in terms of managers and supervisors who are looking to try and fill vacant positions. I had a vacant executive assistant role that I was working to fill, and typically when those positions are posted, you could expect anywhere from 80 to 90 or 100 or more applications. I received 10, and that's pretty common with not only those roles, but we're seeing it in, for example, other roles throughout HR, but also roles across the campus. There's just, the applicant pools just aren't as robust as they have been. So it's just a really, really interesting job market. I say interesting, but from a challenging standpoint in terms of what we're having to do from an extra, recruitment and hiring standpoint to just try and build those pools back up to what we were seeing even before the pandemic. But it's just struggle across the board right now.
Yeah, Link, if I can just kind of do a minor follow-up to that. This is purely anecdotal, so I'm trying not to draw too much conclusions, but I am hearing a fair amount of happening kind of, especially in regards to the hiring freeze being lifted so much that there was kind of that backlog of demand for advancement and promotion. So there's been it feels like, I'm just wondering if there's a particular unit on campus that's being particularly struck by that, with people either moving within the system, like into just like entrepreneurial initiatives, external schools, other ones, as opposed to just, or if it is like mostly administrative work or work that has kind of remote qualities, if those are the ones that are having more difficulty being filled.
Well, even before that's a great question. Even before the pandemic, areas like IT, nursing were always challenging to fill, just given our geographic location and the companies and higher ed institutions that we compete with. Those still remain challenges and are just exacerbated a bit because of this sort of proliferation of additional remote options that we're seeing. But yeah, it's not any one area, Jacob. It's really, we're seeing it just kind of across the board, that there are challenges everywhere.
Agreed. All right, thanks, Link. Any final questions for Chancellor Guskowitz? All right, Kevin. Well, thank you again for your time and for coming and speaking with us today. And we look forward to working with you on kind of trying to address some of those staffing concerns. So I think that's
thanks, Katie, for your leadership. Thanks for your leadership, and thanks to all of you for all that you do for our campus. It's much appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you out and about on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have our Human Resources update from Vice Chancellor for Human Resources, Becky Mangini, although I don't know if she's here today, and Associate Vice Chancellor for Human Resources, Link Butler. So welcome, as usual, to our trusty HR partners. Welcome.
Thank you, Katie, and it's good to see everyone. Becky is actually on a well-deserved vacation this week, so she is on a beach somewhere sipping umbrella drinks, I believe.
Cheers to that.
Given the robust agenda for today, we were asked to actually pull in one of our special presentations into our regular HR update. We have with us today Tyler Enlow, who I know has presented to this group before, and you're probably well familiar with, along with Dejanava Gore, who's a fairly recent addition to our employee management relations team. We stole her away from one of my old stomping grounds, North Carolina A&T State University, and we are so happy to have her. We also have Ashley Hockaday from our EHRA non-faculty HR team to provide an update on performance management. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and then following that, of course, we have Jessica Pyges with us, who's going to provide her total well-being and wellness updates for the group. So I will turn it over to Tyler, Ashley, and Dejanava.
Thanks, Link. Welcome, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Link. So it's that time of year, right? The calendar rolls into March. So we think of two things, basketball and, of course, performance management, right? As we end the cycle, we got a few updates that we're going to walk through. Ashley has joined us as the EHRA non-faculty performance management coordinator. So she's going to lead us off, and I'm going to kind of share a quick presentation. And then if there are any questions, we can answer whatever y'all have.
Awesome. Hello, nice to meet y'all. I'm going to cover really quickly what is changing with performance management this year. So number one, the most exciting, woo, we're so excited. No more paper. Yay. Oh, so glad about that. It's all online now. That's going to be super handy. Your department HR rep won't have to save files in a file cabinet in their office. It's online only. There is going to be a new self-assessment opportunity where that opens on the 15th of March. We'll talk about the timeline in a little bit, but that'll be a chance for you to put in your own opinions on how your development has progressed this past performance cycle. There is Synchronized Timelines, which as an EHRA non-faculty consultant, I'm very excited about. So that means that SHRA employees and EHRA non-faculty employees will be using the exact same timeline. You won't have to do this all over again twice if you manage both types of employees. So the new timeline is from April 1st to March 31st for all employee types, SHRA and EHRA non-faculty. There is a new checkpoint step that's not really new. It's an HR checkpoint We've been doing it in the past. It's just, we were doing it on the back end and y'all didn't know about it. So this time we're putting it actually into the formal process. And it's basically just a chance for your HR reps to check over everything, you know, see if there's anything that may need a little bit of revision, and make sure all of it is good to go to the employee. Then we also have automatic task creation. This is exciting for Tyler and I, especially because Carolina Talent was not automatically creating some tasks for new hires and such. So Tyler or I would have to go in, or both of us go in and create a task every month. So this time they're being automatically created for most situations. There's going to be an ability to put in comments on your development plan, so you can leave comments for your supervisor. And then for our PM reps, our performance management representatives, we are making a team site that's coming in the next few days. It's going to be an opportunity to have a performance management representatives community where they can have resources, they can ask us questions, they can reach Tyler and I to just talk about what their situations are in general and have an easy one spot location for communications. And this is the general appraisal timeline. This will be it for this year and pretty much going forward. The dates may change a little bit, but March 15th is the employee self-assessment. That's when it opens. Then April 1st. So you have from March 15th to March 31st to do your employee self-assessment. April 1st, it moves to the manager. The manager does their piece, their appraisal piece, where they do the ratings and all of their overall comments, all that fun stuff. May 1st, it moves to HR checkpoint. And that's where your department HR reps are going to be doing their back end stuff to just check it over. They may say like, oh, you haven't turned one in yet. Like, please complete it for us. That kind of thing. Then it's going to move to May 21st, it's going to move to where the manager will sign the appraisal, and they'll meet with the employee. The employee will have 15 days of dynamically from whatever time the manager releases it to them. When the manager signs and releases it to them, they have 15 days to acknowledge it. Now, the employee self-assessment and the employee acknowledgement are optional. They're not required, but we give that time. All right, Tyler, if you'll switch. And this page is a lot of words, I know, but we're focusing on the blue square right now. But this is the important dates for all of 2022. The blue is talking about this upcoming annual appraisal. So those are all the dates that I've already laid out for you. And then if you're SHRA, you also get the annual competency assessment, which will be done April 1st through June 3rd. That's where your manager enters the competency assessment and the employee acknowledges it. Then over in the green, you see the planning for the next upcoming year. So April 1st through June 3rd of this year, they'll set a performance plan for the upcoming cycle. Then other reviews that are in Carolina Talent are an SHRA probationary review, mid-cycle reviews, performance check-ins. You can do off-cycle reviews, off-cycle performance plans, all that fun stuff as needed. All right, I'll turn it over to Tyler.
Thank you, Ashley. So there's a few things that we want to kind of highlight that are key points as we're going into this review. Number one is the very first two steps. So the employee self-assessment, which is optional, and the manager assessment, which is not optional. Those two steps, they will be held until deadline. So what I mean by that is going back to the dates, the employee self-assessment will stay in the employee step until March 31st. So until April 1 at 12 o'clock, midnight in 1 second, it will move over to the manager. The reason for this is we wanted to we get a lot of requests and we keep up with our help tickets to see, where we're running into some concerns, right? Some bog downs in the system. And one of which is that there's a lot of requests to reopen and edit things. So we wanted to give time for the employee to know it will be there for you to work on from March 15th to March 31st. That will be the same for the manager step right behind it. So from April 1st to April 30th, that task will stay with the manager, even if they hit submit. Okay, so even if they hit submit, they can go back and make edits to it and resubmit it, they can do that up until April 30th. Come May 1st, that will go to the HR checkpoint step, and it will stay in the HR checkpoint step until May 20th. And then after that, you'll see it becomes more dynamic from there. So the manager, when they sign and meet with the employee, that automatically goes to the employee once the manager signs it. But we wanted to set up dates so that employees knew when their task would be there, managers knew when their task would be there, and they would be there for the entire time. So I want to make sure we stated that. One thing though that is a failure of, we ran into an issue with Cornerstone, which is the company behind the scenes. So this is something that's outside of our hands, but we are working with them to address this concern, is that if the self-assessment, if the employee goes in and writes something in there and saves the draft, but has never submitted it, that saved draft will go to the manager on April 1st. We're putting it in all our communications. We're going to talk about it everywhere we talk about it. It's going to be on the website, but that is one place where that we want to make sure that employees are aware. Now, if they hit submit the first time and then save it after that, it only goes forward with what's submitted. But it's that first save, if they do not hit submit, that task will then go to the manager and they'll see what was saved. So we'll make sure we're putting that out there and trying to, like I said, we're working with Cornerstone to get that fixed. Another thing that's changed, you may have noticed in the timeline, there's no second level supervisor signature now. That's to get in line with both SHR and EHR. EHR never required it, as well as to make this a more value added process for the departments that, you know, are oftentimes second level supervisors are not really aware of the employee's performance. But there are ways for those areas where we have second level managers who are more involved or have more oversight of the employee's performance and are more aware. We are walking through, we're having QRCs, they'll be able to access those documents. If they have an issue with that, we can reopen it back to the manager step. This is all while it's still a draft and the employee hasn't received it as a part of that HR checkpoint step as well. And so we're gonna have a lot of information out there on how to do that. This is a quick reminder, this is SHRA only. Institutional goals are all equal weighted. So there's no way to change those. If you are non-supervisory, it is 20% because you do not have the supervisory goal. If you are a supervisor, then obviously it's 16.67%. Individual goals, when the performance plans were created and so all the goals were created, there was no validation of that 100%. You could go forward with, in fact, I had a few areas where we had to walk through that had 1% and they meant 100%. So there was no way of stopping the performance plan from going forward with less than 100%. So when we're talking about weight validation, that's what I'm talking about for SHRA. So at the performance review step, though, there is a validation step. It must have 100% as the goal weight before you can proceed to submit the performance review for that employee. One thing we are seeing is we do have a number of individuals who do not have goals in the system or who have less than 3 or more than 5. If that's what's happened, we are telling managers to create a help ticket and we can go in and issue a new task so that can be updated. If you're an employee who has no goals in the system, your manager will have nothing to rate. So it pulls it from the goal section into the performance review. And if there's nothing there, there's nothing that will be in the review. So we have to get that fixed. Another thing that came up is when we were doing the performance plan, I know this is finishing out the first full year in Carolina Talent. Employees weren't aware that they had an acknowledgement there. The system itself generates emails. And so we have now upgrade or create additional emails to allow employees to know that they have a task that needs to be accomplished, which is an acknowledgement. The acknowledgement is optional. There is a place to say, I refuse to sign. That's completely fine. But there is there are more reminders generated now going into it. So the employee will receive a reminder when they receive the task. And this is also for the employee self-assessment. They'll receive this as well. They'll receive it when they get the task. They'll receive it on Fridays as a part of a digest. They'll receive it 2 days before the deadline, a day before the deadline, and the deadline. They will receive an email. And then what's next? So we have a manager webinar that's coming up March 8th. We are furiously working on getting that ready. And so there will be there was an email that went out yesterday from HR saying that there is an invitation to attend this. It will be recorded and we will have it in Carolina Talent and on the webpage. And so that if you aren't able to attend, we would love everyone to attend. But if for whatever reason we can't attend, we will have it saved. And we'll also have, whatever FAQs we can provide off of the questions as well. You see there the targeted emails. Employees will receive an email here in a few days notifying them that there is a self-assessment task is coming, as well as managers will receive one on the 31st as well to remind them, hey, check your Carolina Talent page because you will have tasks the next day on the 1st. And no, it is not an April Fool's joke. And one thing I do want to make sure to mention is if you're an employee, we're all employees, right? So we'll all receive this task, the self-assessment task. It's called My Appraisal Task because we can't change that name because it's an appraisal. So it's a little confusing when you get that task thinking that that's not a self-assessment. It is. Once again, that's in all of our literature that we'll have ready for the 15th for employees. So do we have any questions? I'm sure we might have one or two.
Yes, there's so far been a couple questions in the chat. Let me scroll back up here. I'm going to start with Sharon's question. If after the manager submits to HR rep for review or at the time of the employee meeting, something needs to change, does the manager have the opportunity to edit?
After they've signed it, is that what we're talking about? They signed it and they're meeting with the employee.
Talking about during HR checkpoint.
Oh, during the HR checkpoint, yes. What'll happen? Well, they will not have access to change it because it's moved on to the next step. What will happen is that you will need to reach out to your HR person. They will then submit a ticket, or you can submit a ticket for us to move it back to you. It doesn't matter either way. I would suggest sending it to your HR person to have them submit the ticket because it's in that HR checkpoint step, and therefore they're aware not to look at that yet, and that it'll get fixed. And what we'll do is we will move it back to you.
Okay, so question. So I'm not saying this is about me, but it's me. Two of the things in my development plan. So the development plan was new this past year, and that was the first time we had it. Two of the trainings that were in mine in particular were offered by OHR like once last year. And then one date they were offered, I couldn't make those dates work. So is there a way to like go in and put that comment in the development plan to be able to flag to my supervisor, okay, like I made the attempt, these couldn't happen this year. Can we move them to next development plan or something? Just not clear how that kind of back and forth goes in terms of the development plan process.
Okay, so there's three things there. So thank you, Katie. It's a really good question because we get a lot of questions about development plans. And so one thing, number one, your development plan is not rated. So if it's something, Katie, that you couldn't get to, or that for whatever reason, I had for 2 years, I thought I was going to go to law school, and then I decided better of it. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter, right? That's part of what that development plan is. A lot of times we see development plans where we have non-managers taking OHR management classes or LinkedIn learning management classes. They're not a manager, right? So the whole point of that is to prepare them for maybe that one time when they do become one, right? So it's not rated. So if you weren't able to do it, it's okay. Number two, there is now a development plan section, comment section, where you're able to go in and say, I was not able to accomplish this year. Can we move it to next year? That's completely cool as well. And Katie, that's actually why we added that actually a few months ago, or very recently actually, was because it didn't make sense that you could comment on the individual goals, but you couldn't comment on the development goals.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that was available so you can do that. Number three, your manager could actually go into your development plan, change the end date to 3/31/2023, and could do that now actually. And then what that would do is that development plan will come into your 2022-23 performance plan already ready. And then you can push it forward.
But the ability for the employee, because I know employees can build their own development plans as well within the system. I wouldn't be able to go in and change that date to the 2023 to extend that particular one, or could I?
You can, but what would have to happen is that your manager would then have to go in and approve it.
Got it.
Which, by the way, FYI, the goal approvals part, which was kind of buried under performance, hover over performance, then go to performance home, and then was in a widget on the right-hand side of the screen, that's moving to the front page. So that'll be a much more accessible place for managers. So that should be going live here in the next week or so.
Great.
Tyler, we had a question saying, I got the email today, but it didn't lead me to anything I could access. Do you want to explain that email from today?
Okay, so we all know the emails work now, right? So that's cool. But okay, so what the email you received was that with development plans, you get a 30-day warning that, hey, this due date's coming up. So it's not going to have a link to send you into Carolina Talent, but what it is just notifying you that there's 30 days till the end of the cycle. I got one for me too, and I looked at it and I said, oh, that's right, we have those. So I get it, but yes, it's good to know that the emails work.
Yeah, if you click on it, it'll take you to your development goal from the past year, and you can like rate your progress on it.
Right.
So if you didn't get an email, that means you've already done whatever you needed to do for your development goal?
Yeah,
or
right.
Is it just not working?
Well, if you didn't receive one, there's one of two options. One, you moved it all the way to 100% slide bar and your progress is 100%, which is awesome. The second option is less awesome, which is that you wouldn't have a development goal in the system.
No, I definitely have one. So
okay, good.
Then you did your goal. Good job, Laura.
Hooray! That's one thing done. Thanks.
Another question. So if it's possible to reshare the dates slide, I want to clarify something. So it's a little bit different now that we have this employee self-assessment that like essentially the managers can't go in until April 1st to start working on their portion. So that's one thing, but also what is the definitive date that manager reviews are supposed to be submitted? April 30th now? So didn't it used to be like April 15th or like earlier?
Well, departments had different deadlines internally, and that's changed because this whole process got centralized. And I can kind of give a real quick backstory. So what happens is that the custodian of record, as Ashley said, when we had paper, was the department. Now with Carolina Talent, it is central HR. So now we're kind of setting what the deadlines are. So April 30th is the deadline for the draft, right? So that is when it the wording needs to be done. All the comments need to be done. All the ratings need to be done. It needs to be done by the 30th. Then of course there's an HR review step then, and then it gets finalized that last 2 weeks of May, right? Where you're sitting down, you're signing off on it, you're meeting with your employee. So that's really when that gets finalized. But what I would say is the heavy lifting is the month of April, and it needs to be done by April 30th.
But that last 2 weeks of May that used to occur in early April is now like the performance meeting with your staff is later this year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to happen generally end of April. So we've pushed it a little further to give some additional oversight, just so that we're keeping an eye on where how these things are going. We've got a checklist that'll go to HR officers on what we're looking for. And then we'll also have the ability to, like I said, we're lengthening it a little bit. And part of that is due to adding EHRA non-faculty in. And we want to make sure that we're giving additional time so that if we're catching people, we can get it done. But to be honest with you, that's generally the timeline is the first 2 weeks of May is usually when we're getting completed.
This slide is super helpful. So if you could share this, that would be amazing.
Katie, I'll send you the full presentation if you want it.
I love it. Let's do it. I'll share it with the forum delegates for sure.
I think that that information is going to be on our website as well. And it's already been given to the PM reps and it'll be on the PM reps team site. So available a lot of different places.
One thing before we head out of here, I do want to make sure, because we've used this term a few times. All right, PM reps means our performance management representatives. They are all HR positions, but they are a group that has additional access in the system. They can run reports, and they like I said, that's their main goal, is to monitor the process. So I want to make sure everybody kind of knew what that was, because we may have some new forum people since the last time I talked about it.
Great. We love our acronyms here at UNC, so it's always helpful to
as many as possible.
Any final questions for Tyler, Ashley, and you had another person on your
yes,
right?
Dejanava.
Sorry, I don't see her on my little screen here. So any final questions?
Awesome. It's her first trip to the forum.
Well, welcome.
You know, she's Tyler's backup.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to find my unmute. Thank you.
No, you're fine. Welcome, welcome. As always, super helpful presentation. Looking forward to another amazing performance evaluation season. And I agree. Hooray and amen to no more paper and to a synchronized timeline. Like those are like my two high points. Like, yay.
We saved a few forests, Katie. We saved
exactly.
a few forests.
All right, y'all. Thank you. Let's move on to Jessica. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. We have a very, very busy month in March, so happy March to everybody. We are kicking things off with our wellness webinars next week with a session on sleep, and it will be discussing how it's important to your health and well-being, as well as, how to get into those healthy sleep habits. And that's kind of to prepare you for that daylight savings time that is already coming up, which will be March 13th. So be sure to join us on Wednesday, March 9th at noon for that session. Then we have our next session, formal session, will be March 23rd, which will be eating healthy on a budget, because March is many months, but it's also National Nutrition Month. And then in between there, from March 14th to March 17th, we have the Monday through Thursday. We will have 3 to 5 wellness sessions for you every day in preparation for our Employee Wellness Day, which is Friday the 18th. So we're trying to combine our virtual wellness week that we had last year and our in-person wellness expo, as well as our in-person employee appreciation day, all into the week between the 14th and the 18th, with our in-person day on the 18th. And I really hope to see you there. So on the 14th through the 17th, we have lots of virtual sessions, and I will show you our website so you can see those. So I won't go through all of them, but you should have received an email that went out to everyone on Friday of last week in the afternoon. That was a formal notice promoting our event. And our website is live, and my phone is ringing. It's my first day back. Our website is live and fully updated with registration links for everything. Just to recap on how our sessions went last month, we had an uptake in participation in February compared to January, so people are getting back into the swing of things, with our most popular session being on unconscious bias. That's one of our newer topics. We had 49 people participate in that for an overall reach of 70 employees last month with our 3 sessions. So Employee Wellness Day will be the 18th, and I will open it up and share my screen so you can see my website. But just to let you know, our big day is from 11 to 2 on the 18th, and there will be so many different opportunities for you to participate in different areas of wellness. There will be an open meditation space upstairs in the Union. There will be 15-minute wellness checks where you can get your blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose, A1C done upstairs in the Union. There will be a small spaced out exhibit hall with a medicine drop for any unused medications to safely dispose of those. There will be cooking demonstrations provided by Carolina Dining Services, as well as the produce box happening in the Union on the right-hand side. There will be fitness sessions happening in the Student Rec Center in Studio B, and there will be games and food outside. So I'd love to see you inside the building, but I hope to see you outside the building if that's all we can get you there for. I do encourage you to sign up in advance. Some of these opportunities are spaces limited, such as the wellness checks for a quick health screening, particularly the chair massages. Those have filled up in past years. That's a 10-minute complimentary chair massage. And our fitness demos have a max capacity of 30 participants as well. So there is registration for every event, but for those in particular, those spaces and seats are limited. Another thing that we're doing this year is that we've partnered up with UNC Radiology to offer some additional hours for anyone who is in need of a breast cancer screening. So their regular hours are Monday through Friday from 7:50 to 3:40 in the afternoon. And they know that we're promoting this event and hoping to see some employees come between those hours. But they're having a special day for us on Saturday, March 12th from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then Wednesday night on March 16th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So all those details are on our website, and I'm going to make the attempt to share my screen here. And can everyone see my screen on the website? Excellent. So I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to go to the web page yet. It has grown a lot in the past month and even the past week, but it is all up to date that went out in an email to you on Friday. Our slogan this year is Believe in New Beginnings, because that's where we feel that we are. We're kind of starting anew, coming together and kind of merging both comfort zones of virtual and in-person gatherings. So this is a link to the registration site where you can sign up for the virtual opportunities that are happening through Monday through Thursday, as well as the in-person sessions. This is the schedule of the virtual opportunities. So they start Monday the 14th with some exercise programs, some education sessions, some meditation sessions, some out of office hours, yoga sessions, but different fitness, meditation, and educational opportunities there for you. And then our full list of events is below that. We're kicking things off with a healthy breakfast for our housekeeping staff. We hope to see them there. We have more than enough breakfast for them, hot and cold options. Our wellness checks are also starting earlier in the morning, so we can hopefully get some shift workers and housekeeping staffs there to participate as well. We'll have a smaller spaced out exhibit hall, games outside, including a climbing wall for those adventure seekers, our medicine drop, chair massages, open meditation space, photo booth, and then fitness sessions happening throughout the whole day, starting at 11 at the Student Rec Center. We also have various educational sessions happening in the Union Auditorium throughout the day, cooking demos, and that whole schedule is listed for you. Following that, you can click here to see the details about the breast cancer screening opportunities that are available for you. And then our on-demand library. We will have new videos posted on the library by March 14th for you. And there will be some that we've shared in previous years, but we'll have some new videos up there starting March 14th. And this is a thank you to all of our partners that make this event possible. But also, I do want to encourage you that we really, really need volunteers to make this event successful. It's happening in multiple different rooms in multiple different locations for a good period throughout the day. So we are looking for volunteers. We have about 81 volunteer slots. We just started promoting that Friday. So we have lots of slots that need to be filled. So if you are coming out and you'd like to donate an hour of your time to help us make this event a success, I'd be really, really grateful. The link for that I'll share with Katie, but I'll drop it in the box too, so you can see the different volunteer opportunities. And any questions about Wellness Day or that week in general before I move to the next topic?
Hey, Jessica, I'm gonna hop in. I threw my question in chat, but I think it's just gotten overwhelmed now, which is fine. The breast cancer screenings, they sound amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. Do they bill insurance, or are they free? Like, I'm thinking about members of our community who maybe don't have the health insurance through UNC, right?
Right. This is not specific to state health plan members.
Okay.
So I don't believe it is free. They're offering 2 and 3D opportunities. As you know, our health insurance does now cover that 3D screening, as it didn't many years ago, but it does now. So the only requirements are listed there below on the screen, and those include that you just need to have an active primary care physician that you've seen in the past year. They don't need to make the referral for you. It can be you just calling and making the appointment for yourself, and then meet the age requirement of being 40 years of age and not have had a mammogram in 12 months. I think this is a really great opportunity because I'm just going to make an overall assumption that some people may have fallen behind on preventative screenings because of the pandemic and not wanting to go to different medical facilities unless it was absolutely necessary. So this is something that we worked with UNC Radiology to provide, and they're offering those additional screening hours, and they're looking forward to your phone calls. So do reach out to them. And if you have any specific questions that aren't listed on the website, I can't answer. If you call the number that is on the top of the screen, they'll be able to answer those questions for you. But I was not made aware that this is specific for state health plan members. So if you are an employee and you don't have the state health plan insurance, they can still see you. The wellness checks, on the other hand, those are provided by the state health plan. So you do need to have the state health plan insurance, and you will need to bring your ID with you when you get screened. If you forget it, still come. We have someone from Blue Cross who will be on site, and he'll be looking up your member ID. So you can, don't let that be a barrier if you get to the union and realize that you left your health insurance card in the office.
That's great. Jessica, thank you so much. I know this has been a lot of work for you. I think it's going to be an amazing week and especially terrific Friday. So thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Laura. See you there.
Any final questions for Jessica?
I do want to make one other announcement outside of Wellness Week, or a few other announcements. But in addition to Wellness Week, March 14th kicks off the Miles for Wellness Challenge. I think many of you have participated before. If you've been a team captain, you've probably gotten the emails already. But that spring challenge runs March 14th through May 8th. It's the biannual 8-week physical activity challenge. And this challenge, we will be traversing the northern capitals of the United States. If you've participated the past couple challenges, we've been making it through the country and stopping at various capitals throughout the country. So I encourage you to go to that website, Miles for Wellness website, get the details, register your team, or join a team that needs members. So I'll drop that in the link, but I'll send all this to Katie as well. And then with our discounts this month, we are promoting the employee discount for the Morehead Planetarium and Science Center summer camps for kids. These are various different camps that start at different times and focus on different areas of science, recreation, and fun for kids who are in grades from kindergarten to 8th grade. They start as early as June 13th. And as an employee, you receive a 7% discount. So you're going to email the camps for that discount, and visit the Planetarium page and click on camps for those details. They didn't give me a discount code. They just gave me an email address. And then we have been offering Bivvy pet insurance for employees. You've been able to receive 10% off the monthly pet insurance. They now offer pet wellness insurance as well for an additional $9 a month, or you can just get the wellness insurance. And that includes wellness exam coverage, shots, and other preventative coverage for your pets. And then without signing up for Bivvy, you can use the code Bivvy, even if you're not a member, to get 2 free months of Ask Vet Care. That is now virtual pet care for your pets. If you have any questions about anything that your pet's going through medically or behaviorally, you can call a vet for free and have access to them 24/7 to get those questions answered. If you do end up signing up, they send you a gift that's valued over $100. I'm assuming that's pet related. They did not tell me what that gift is. But that is a new feature that is offered through our partnership with Bivvy, but you do not need to be a Bivvy member to take advantage of the 2 free months of virtual pet care. And I will drop that in the link as well. And those are all the updates I have for you today.
Thanks, Jessica. Any final questions for Jessica, or I guess for Link or our performance management team?
I just want to know how Jessica does all this with apparently a staff of 2.
Yeah, right.
It's challenging, but I'm here for you and happy to do it.
It's not going unnoticed. I want you to know that.
Well, I can answer that, Jacob. She is just absolutely phenomenal, which you all know. And we are so very fortunate to have her as part of the team. She's just outstanding. So there you have it.
Thank you all. Thank you, Link. And I really do hope to see you on the 18th. And hopefully you can volunteer some time with us as well. And if not you, grab a friend as well, because it really takes a village. I'd love to be at every certain spot and see everything going on Wellness Day. It is like a wedding for me on Wellness Day. I see nothing. Well, I see a snippet of everything, but I can't really pay attention to any one particular thing. So, bring a friend, coworker, or 5 and sign up for a volunteer spot, and I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll be there. I hope to see you, and all volunteers get a really cool t-shirt, so that's an incentive.
Awesome. Excellent. Any questions for our HR partners? No? They let you off easy, Link.
Are there no other HR updates?
Yeah,
Just
any other
you
HR
know,
updates? That's true.
Same old,
I
same
mean,
old.
those are the big ones, really. I mean, performance management right now is the big focus, obviously, with the new process. And I won't go back into the details that the team already shared. So I think that's the big one we're focused on right now, and just trying to get through that and help make sure we are providing the necessary support to our faculty, our staff, and our managers and supervisors as they navigate through the process.
I could ask about adverse weather leave if you like.
No, thank you.
You have to ask that once a year, Link. It's required.
I have a question.
Yeah, Liz, go ahead.
In true style, my style, this is just a question that's going to be asked, and I do not expect an answer right now, but I'm thinking about it a lot as my supervisor and I redesign not just my position, but the structure of my part of my department. When you don't supervise or manage somebody who works adjacent to or under you, in this case, a research assistant working under me, and there's nobody else supervising this person, and they're temp because this is very entry level as they go on to apply to medical school. What word does HR want us to use that's not supervising that person or managing that person, and yet we are obviously supervising their output? I'm not trying to break the ceiling. That's somebody else's job, but am saying there's got to be a word we can use in my performance evaluation for the fact that I'm responsible for the quality of this other person's work. Is there an HR approved word for supervising when you're not allowed to supervise?
I think you can also word it as overseeing and directing the day-to-day work. I mean, it's basically supervision. I think the difference is in, for example, the state system, OSHR sees supervision as the full component of supervision, which includes things like development planning, performance reviews, all of that. But I think if you could just simply say that you're overseeing the day-to-day work, that should be sufficient.
Thank you. I want the approved language so people know exactly what I'm talking about. For my evaluation, I mean, I do this work and I want to know what to call it.
It's important.
Thank you.
And just question in the chat, any update on ARP approval?
Yeah, so the ARP is part of the larger university budget approval process, and I've been in conversation with Steve Agostini about that. We should have that shortly. I think we're in kind of an odd situation right now because we've already begun loading some of those into Connect Carolina and they're becoming visible. But we still want to make sure that we have all the appropriate approvals, but I'm hoping very, very shortly that those approvals are going to be going out.
Come on, Board of Trustees, right? Any other questions? All right, well, again, a huge thank you and shout out to our partners in HR, Link, Becky, Jessica, all of the performance management folks. We appreciate you and we thank you and look forward to continue partnering with you on various staff initiatives. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Excellent. Any final thoughts, comments, additions that you guys want to talk about before we close for the day? We kind of crammed in everything else when we were killing time earlier.
It was great to see everybody.
It was indeed. Well, hearing no other questions, comments, etc., I'm going to give you guys 20 minutes back of your day. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn. This is Arlene.
Second?
This is Jacob. I second. David can second.
All
All
right.
third.
I'm not even going to ask all in favor. We are all in favor. Thank you all again for your time today. We appreciate it and look forward to seeing you all again in April or even sooner at various other employee forum meetings. Thank you.
March 18th.
Bye all. Thanks.
Katie.
Hey, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Good job, Katie.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for everything, as always.
Oh, sure.
Excellent job, both of you. You always make things run so smoothly.
It was pulling teeth there a little bit, trying to fill some time, but you know.
You made it work. You made it happen.
Yeah, you did.
I'd have been sitting there like,
Some updates, people.
Right. So Matt, I'm gonna send you, well, Katie, I'll, send it to you as well, but the attendance roster, I think I have it most up to date. I try to go through it like 6 times and the people that I'm missing kind of scroll back through to see if they show up. So hopefully this is as accurate as it could be. But
And I try to do something similar as well, but we'll definitely use yours. And thank you.
All right,
for
I'll
doing
send it right over. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, I'm gonna close down the meeting. So
Thanks for
enjoy your
coming.
afternoon. Take care.
Thanks to our captioners. Thank you.